From the High Definition Production Center of Troy University's Broadcast and Digital Network and Troy campuses around the world, this is Troy TrojanVision Weekly.
Hello and welcome to Troy TrojanVision Weekly. We're glad you joined us for this look at what's happening in and around Troy University. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. On Saturday night, the Troy University Athletics Hall of Fame expanded by 8 members. Brianna Jones gives us a look at the newest class of inductees into the Hall of Fame.
If there's one thing you didn't know about Troy,
we at Troy have proven that straight out of here you can go to the NFL, you can go to Major League Baseball, you can go to the biggest businesses in the world. You can go anywhere you want to from Troy, Alabama.
it seems that Ash is right because him, along with 7 other former Trojans, were all inducted into the Hall of Fame on Saturday evening, and some of them shared how this accomplishment feels.
I mean, it's great. It's everything, that I always dreamed of and everything I always, expect of myself of coming here. I mean, it was great. It could have been even much greater. Could think about all the touchdowns they called back or whatever. It could have been even much crazier. So I could have been up for a Heisman if everything would have went out right.
This is a tremendous honor for all of us. We had a little get-together today during T-Day football, and, everybody, it's a time to tell stories and reminisce and, obviously thank the people that have helped us all.
During former head coach time spent here at Troy, he led the Trojans to 3 Sun Belt championships, also being named Coach of the Year twice, and he posted a record of 395 and 256. He reminisces on the time he spent as a Trojan.
I get to reflect quite a bit on not only the career, but the 13 years that we spent at Troy, which were a fantastic 13 years for myself and my family. Just tremendous times. I mean, and so when you sit back and you have time now, when you retire, you have time to reminisce and reflect a lot more. So that makes nights like tonight even more special.
Fans can now see the 8 new names displayed in Trojan Arena's main lobby. Brianna Jones, Troy TrojanVision News.
Troy University gives an author the Hall Waters Award every year. And Friday afternoon, the latest recipient was recognized at Troy University Stadium Club. Seth Hawk gives us a look at this year's recipient.
Friday afternoon, the newest recipient of the Hall Waters Award was given to Ace Atkins. Atkins is a New York Times best-selling author who has written over 20 novels in the crime fiction genre, and he's the son of the second most winningest Troy football coach, Billy Atkins. And according to Atkins, this award is the best homecoming he could have asked for.
Well, this is not only a nice honor for me, but also a very personal honor as well. I was actually born in Troy, and my father actually used to be the head coach here back in the 1960s and early 1970s, so it's kind of a homecoming of sorts for me.
Atkins didn't originally plan on becoming an author, but thanks to his job before he became an author, he had plenty of things to write about.
I used to be a reporter, and I was a reporter for many years. I used to cover the crime beat, and I used to have to go to murders and bank robberies and that kind of stuff. And I said, this is pretty good fodder for, writing novels, and I love the South, and so kind of combining those two worlds of writing about the crime in the Deep South.
According to Atkins, there are some misconceptions about the life of an author, and it does not come without its challenges, and that includes having the motivation to work.
There are days that you don't want to do it, but you just have to suck it up and get your coffee and go to work. And some people think it's an easy job, but it's actually something you have to work at every day.
And for those that are looking for the next Ace Atkins crime fiction novels, his new work will be released in the coming months.
The next book comes out. I've got a book called Old Black Magic, and that book will be out on May 1st. And then I actually have a second book coming out this year called The Sinners, and that book will be out on July 17th.
Some of Atkins' family still lives in Troy to this day. Seth Hawk, Troy TrojanVision News.
Helen Keller is known as one of Alabama's most famous residents based on her success in life despite physical limitations. And every year, Troy University welcomes individuals to campus who reflect that spirit at the Helen Keller Lecture. Antonio Reese has the details.
Wednesday morning, Troy University hosted its annual Helen Keller Lecture Series. This year marked the 23rd year the lecture has taken place on the campus of Troy University. The guest speakers for the event were a cornea transplant recipient named Cameron Stovall and the ophthalmologist who performed his operation, Dr. Robert Morris. Stovall was involved in a freak accident that caused him to lose one of his 5 senses for a period of time.
Keep it short, I was in a hunting accident. I lost my vision. And I've experienced a lot of things that I never thought I would experience. I was 26 at the time, and when all this happened, and I had 20/20 vision, I had a great job, and the adversity that I had when I woke up in the hospital and had no vision, had tubes down my throat, it was shocking to me.
The very same day of Cameron Stovall's accident, he was told alongside his parents that he would never see again. However, this was far from correct.
Stovall recovered with his parents right by his side. His mother, Mary, discusses how her son came into contact with Dr. Morris.
We actually had seen several doctors, probably 5, 6, 7 doctors in the ICU who had determined that Cameron would not have any vision at all. He would be totally blind the rest of his life. And then Dr. Morris came on the scene, and he did his first surgery about 7 days after the initial accident.
Well, Cam had shotgun pellets enter and exit both eyes. And one eye, the pellet went out through the optic nerve, so that eye didn't have a chance. In the other eye, the pellet went out adjacent to the optic nerve, so that eye we were able to get, after 17 operations, we were able to get back half his eyesight. And that makes a difference for the rest of his life. For the next 50 years of his life, he won't be walking with a white cane, he'll be walking on his own.
Stovall discussed how although he would love to have his eyesight back, he has been able to encourage so many people on a daily basis just by going through his accident and keeping a good attitude about the entire process of his recovery. Antonio Reese, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Thursday morning, students from the Sorrell College of Business showcased some of the projects they've been working on this past semester in a creative way. Paige Weeks shows us how.
Troy University's Bibb Graves Hall was filled with sights, smells, and information from countries all over the world. The Sorrell College of Business hosted its Spring Business Research and International Trade Show, which featured students acting as economic developers and tourism directors for various countries.
Today is our project, our outcome project for our international management class that supports our mission of the College of Business to have globally aware and engaged business students.
Through this assignment, students were able to learn what it is like to interact and work with other cultures, even while working with one another.
It's a way to also get students to work together with intercultural communication. So we have domestic students working with international students, and so it really has provided a unique environment for our students to get together and do this type of learning.
Students also learned about the marketing aspects of their assigned countries and what business opportunities are available.
They learn about the GDP, they learn about what's it like to go work there, what are products that we could export from Alabama there, or what are we going to import.
Although the project is for a class assignment, the experience and knowledge that students gain from the project can offer them an advantage later in their career.
The employer asks, what have you accomplished? Well, I put on a trade show for a country. I was literally hired by my faculty member to present that country in its best light.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, we'll see how Troy students help provide an outdoor learning experience for some local school children. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Ah, the long days of summer are almost here. Summer, the season when time seems to slow down, which means when you think about it, you actually have more time to get things done, like catch up on college coursework or even get ahead. And Troy University can help you get more out of your summer with courses you need online or in class. And because time slows down in the summer, you'll still have a chance for relaxing getaways. Enroll for a summer class or two at Troy University.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Now back to Troy TrojanVision News Weekly.
Troy's Office of Civic Engagement gave tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King at a service day at Troy Elementary School in January. And on Tuesday, the students, along with other special guests, were invited to see the finished product of the school's new outdoor classroom. Brianna Jones gives us a look.
Back in January, the Troy University Office of Civic Engagement began a journey for an outside classroom for Troy Elementary students. And on Tuesday morning, that journey was complete. Many gathered at the school to help thank everyone who devoted their time into turning a trail into a learning experience.
Yeah, the nature trail was here long before I arrived, and it was something that we've worked on in the past about roughly 7 years to revitalize. You know, we've had to replace some bridges and things of that nature throughout the trail, but obviously we wanted an outdoor classroom, a true outdoor classroom, and this right here, working with the partnership with the university, we were able to accomplish that with very little cost.
And although to some, an outside classroom may not sound that important, Superintendent Lee Hicks explains why bringing nature to the students may be a big help.
Well, I think a lot of times, you know, in education and as parents, we take things for granted. We assume that everybody learned the way that we always learned. But, you know, many kids have never had the opportunity to come outside and actually experience nature. But any time that we have a partnership that goes hand in hand with Troy University and all the work that they put towards this, I mean, it's a plus for all our students here.
You know, the university couldn't help if the schools didn't allow them to help. You know, when you're working together, it takes two entities.
This is kind of the crown of it, the crown jewel of our nature trails, to be able to have an outdoor classroom so that you guys can come out here.
The new classroom is located in the back of the school near its playground, and now students can enjoy Mother Nature while being taught by their teachers. Brianna Jones, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Troy University's Confucius Institute helps educate about the language and culture of China through classrooms and schools throughout the state. And Tuesday morning, a group from one of those schools paid a visit to Troy. Anna Kate Patterson has more.
On Tuesday morning, around 80 students from Baldwin Magnet School in Montgomery visited Troy University. These students are part of the Confucius Institute classroom at Baldwin and had the chance to see what the Institute offers in Troy.
We want them to be well grounded as it relates to Troy University and what's offered here. And a lot of these students, of course, represent other countries. If you look deep into their heritage, and I guess most Americans are, this is a great melting pot. It's reflected in the diversity of the magnet schools. But these are the outstanding students in that county. We want them to be aware of things like our cultural arts park, the great relationship that we share with colleagues in China, and to see for themselves some of the background of the language that they're studying.
Baldwin is the home of one of many Confucius classrooms in the state, classrooms that are attempting to help bridge the gaps between cultures.
I'm delighted through the great leadership of Dr. Iris Shue and the scholars who surround her that we're able to reach out and touch about 7,000 students in the state of Alabama through the CI and the CI classrooms. I think this is preparing them for the future. Currently, there are millions of students in China studying English. As small as this world is becoming, we best know as much as we can about China, its culture, and its language. And so I think this is our way of making a contribution to that growth.
Baldwin Assistant Principal Ryan Gockwitz feels this trip to Troy could help inspire continued interest in their Chinese studies.
Well, I know the best way to learn a language is to immerse yourself in it, and so to kind of see that culture and kind of put your hands on it gives something tangible for you to hold on to and look at. It kind of gives an excitement for the kids to want to learn more Chinese and learn more about the Chinese people and their culture.
Students at Troy University come from a wide variety of backgrounds, and that includes their schooling. And for those students who took the homeschooling route, there's a day set aside every year to help them get ready for potentially making the move to Troy for college. Chelsea Law has the story.
Tuesday morning, the Troy Admissions Office held their Homeschool Day event for all current homeschool students. Students got a chance to ask questions and see all the things that Troy has to offer.
We take all the students to departmental visits depending on their intended major. We take them on a campus tour. We go eat in the dining hall. And then we have talked about career services and the writing center and all the things that they have to look forward to at their time at Troy.
Moore says events like this one gives homeschool students an opportunity that they may not receive, like other students who go to public school.
So I think with the homeschool community, sometimes it's difficult to for them to get awarded the same opportunities as a student in high school because they don't have that guidance counselor, they don't have those different career days that they get to go to. So I think that having an event that's specifically geared towards them is a way for us to show them like, hey, we really want you to come to Troy.
Prospective Troy students were able to get a bit of advice from current students about their transition from being homeschooled to going to a public school.
think one of the biggest things that we've done is we had a student panel. So we have certain students that go to Troy right now that were homeschooled in high school, and so we really hope that from that they're able to ask all the questions that they want.
One high school student says that Troy gave her an opportunity to explore her career options, an opportunity that she didn't know she'd ever receive.
I came here like not really knowing what I wanted to do, and I've always had that anxiety about what I wanted to be when I grow up and what college I would go to, and I was homeschooled, so I didn't really think that a lot of homeschoolers would have an opportunity like this.
Homeschool students who are wishing to come to Troy must submit an official transcript or have a general education diploma. Chelsea Law, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll see how some empty bowls help feed the hungry. That story is coming up right after this.
See if you remember this story. All summer long, the grasshopper sang and dined at his leisure with no thought for tomorrow. Meanwhile, the industrious ants kept their bulbous compound eyes focused on building success for the future. Then when fall came, the grasshopper had to struggle, and the ants enjoyed plenty and prosperity, probably in a corner office on the top floor with a place at the lake to boot. Think like an ant this summer. Build on your success with summer classes at Troy University.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be tornado. Next Thursday?
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So.
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Now back to Troy Trojan Vision News Weekly.
With the president's new tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum coming into effect, people are wondering if this America First mentality is good for the economy. Well, on Wednesday night, Troy's Johnson Center for Political Economy held a lecture on the subject. Nathaniel Rodriguez has the story.
Guest speaker Mark Perry spoke on the negative effects of tariffs Thursday night during the Johnson Center for Political Economy's annual BB&T lecture. According to Perry, President Trump's new tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum don't help the American consumer, but rather domestic producers.
The winners are the U.S. producers that are now protected from competition, like sugar beet producers. But then we have the losers. There's going to be job losses in other industries, and consumers are going to have to pay higher prices for a lot of products. They'll have less to spend on other products.
But should another country retaliate with its own tariffs, Perry said the producers could also face consequences of their own.
We'll restrict some of their products coming in or impose tariffs. They'll restrict some of our products going into their markets. And so U.S. manufacturers and U.S. producers, including U.S. farmers, are very concerned that if a trade war escalates, that then they're going to lose a big share of their market.
So if tariffs are so bad for the economy, why do politicians impose them? Well, according to Perry, it has nothing to do with economics.
The main goal of a politician, especially in Congress where they get elected every 2 years, their main goal is to get reelected. So when they're looking at trade protection, they look at that as a way for them to generate political support without losing a lot of political support because consumers are so disorganized.
As of April 24th, around 2,400 companies have applied for exemptions from the new tariffs, according to a report by the Boston Globe. Nathaniel Rodriguez, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
Substance abuse and addiction is an issue that affects millions of people every year. And on Tuesday night, Trojan Outreach hosted an event in the Trojan Center ballrooms to address the issue. Seth Hawk has the details.
Tuesday night, Miss Troy University Madison Neal partnered with Trojan Outreach for Educate Before You Medicate. Neal invited 2 guest speakers to speak on the stigma surrounding substance abuse and addiction. And according to Neal, both speakers delivered great information to the crowd of over 160 Troy University students.
They've both had personal connections with addiction and substance abuse, whether it was themselves or through their family members, so I feel like they offered a lot of wisdom to the students who were in attendance.
Trent Boozer was one of the speakers at Tuesday night's event, and he has dealt with substance abuse in his family through his son. And according to Boozer, there is information that individuals who want to help those struggling with abuse need to know.
Well, I had a publishing company already, and when my wife and I went through this process, we had to find a treatment center. We had no idea that people were that we would have to send him to aftercare, and then we had no idea about any collegiate recovery programs out there. So we felt like other parents need to know that there are options out there so that they can go ahead and plan the continuum of care.
And it's not just parents that need to know how to help others with substance abuse problems, according to the second speaker for the evening, Anthony Reynolds. And he gives some advice on how to approach a friend who is struggling with substance abuse.
Never try to intervene on someone by yourself. A good time with 2 or 3 people approaching the person, especially after some crisis they had with their alcohol or drug problem. That's when the person is most receptive when in that pain. And then once they confront the person, if they're willing to go to a counselor or seek some help somewhere, to go with that person immediately to get some help.
Boozer's son, who had a substance abuse problem, has been clean now for 8 years.
Last Friday, the Pike County Salvation Army held its 9th annual Empty Bowls Luncheon. Paige Weeks gives us a look at what was so significant about some empty bowls.
Members of the community were able to look at art, taste soups made by various businesses in Pike County, and help fight hunger, all during the Pike County Salvation Army's Empty Bowls Luncheon.
We have people in Pike County that are hungry. We don't want anyone in our community to have an empty bowl. That's our concept for this.
The Empty Bowls Luncheon is a community-wide effort that is based entirely on volunteers and donations.
This is a cost-free function. Everything is donated. Last year we made $12,000 that went toward our food bank. We give out food every day right here in Troy, Alabama.
The luncheon featured soups and stews from local eateries such as Flo's Kitchen, Santa Fe Cattle Company, and Sodexo. Additionally, participants were able to pick out their own handmade clay bowl donated by local community members and artists.
And although individuals get to take home a beautiful bowl, there is a bigger message here. And that message is why one man keeps coming back year after year.
To me, if I see somebody that needs help and I don't help them, I couldn't believe. It's in my body that I help people, and that's what the Salvation Army does.
It's time for our last break, but when we return, we'll see how some area youngsters got a fun introduction to football from some Trojan athletes. That's right after this break, so stay with us.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities, and this cat makes me make art, because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Now back to TrojanVision News Weekly.
The Trojan football team wrapped up spring practice in the T-Day game on Saturday, but they weren't the only athletes on Larry Blakeney Field. The vet was filled with some budding young players as well. Kirk Kelly has the story.
This Saturday marked the last day of spring football for the Troy Trojan football team. But before the Trojans kicked off its Cardinal and Silver spring game, players from the team had the chance to help and get to know some younger faces who like to take the field first in Troy's first ever children's camp.
Today's been a lot of fun. Just watching all these kids out here enjoy themselves and pretty much learn more about us and just know that, like, it's not just when they go here and watch us play, it's like us behind a face mask. Like, they know who we are. It's been fun enjoying and watching them throw. I was out there watching them throw the ball as far as they could. It's been a lot of fun. It's just a lot of energy out there with kids.
All kids were able to do their best to imitate their favorite Trojan players in drills like the 40-yard dash, quarterback accuracy, tackling, receiving, and kicking. But the main focus of the day was having fun and showing the kids the proper way to play the game of football.
What we're trying to do here is really just build up enthusiasm and excitement about the game of football, you know, and if this turns out where they come to games, that's great, but really we just want to build some enthusiasm about the game of football, teach them some safe techniques, and get them pumped up for football season.
Today was not only a chance for young kids to come out and enjoy a day of football, but also a chance for fellow Trojans to come out, interact, and get to know all the young fans in the Trojan community. Kirk Kelly, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
The Environmental Club ended Earth Week by having a wildlife day. Troy alumnus Tanner Stainbrook and his scaly friends spent an afternoon on the quad. Yolanda Allen has the story.
To end Earth Week, the Environmental Club invited Tanner Stainbrook and his wife to host reptiles on the quad.
My husband and I brought some of our reptile collection here today just to be able to teach some of the students and faculty about why we love reptiles so much.
There were many snakes that were presented at the event.
This is Mandela. She is a ball python. She's 10 years old. She's about as big as she'll get. She'll get a little bit bigger, but it won't be as noticeable. She's really nice. She's very docile. They normally sit and wait for their prey. They don't go after it. They'll let their prey come to them and then attack.
He is a Mexican black king snake, which is Lampropeltis gatula negrita. We do have king snakes here in our area that look fairly similar to this. We have eastern and speckled. They'll have a little bit more white patterning on them.
Snakes like Bellatrix and other snakes are very important to our environment.
Snakes do so much for our ecosystem that we're still only just now discovering. One, they keep down our rodent population, which can get wildly out of hand. Without the snakes here, our houses would be ran over with rats and mice. They also help keep in line lizard and bird populations as well.
Although the event was mainly about reptiles, the love for snakes was in the air.
I've been wanting to get one, but I can't have one in my apartment that I'm in right now.
I've always been a big lover of reptiles and snakes. My brother helped garner that when I was young. I worked as a snake handler at Alligator Alley in high school. And then I came to Troy University. I did all of my ecology studies here, got even more fascinated by them, and it's just kind of snowballed from there.
The Stainbrooks have their own reptile Facebook page called Evil Serpents. Yolanda Allen, Troy, TrojanVision News.
April is National Poetry Month, and there have been a number of events on campus to celebrate the art form. Last week, Troy University welcomed a pair of visiting poets to campus to share their work. Stuart Bradley has the details.
On Thursday night, two award-winning poets, Andrea Yurovich and Rupert Fike, were given the opportunity to read some of their works as a part of National Poetry Month celebrations.
I've heard them read before. They do an excellent job of connecting with students. They're really good at presenting themselves in public, and I thought it'd be an excellent opportunity for Troy University to have these two poets here on campus.
The two poets showcased some new original poems while also showcasing some previously written ones from their respective books. Yurovich tended to focus on more personal poems based on real experiences as well as family life, while Fike focused on poems that were funny and entertaining.
And the book is in some ways an exploration of war and relationships and intimacy during a time of conflict.
But I'm more of a performance poet, where I'm more interested in things that have punchlines, stories that that audiences can relate to.
While having different styles and different ways of expressing their poetry, both poets are similar in that many of their poems draw from some kind of real-life experience, emotion, or even a fantasy.
I really like the Black Daisies poem that Andrea read. That was the first poem she read. It's a new poem. I hadn't heard it before. I thought it was really beautiful. It was a love poem. And then Rupert's poem on his tutoring fantasy on Rikers Island with the young man. I thought it was very funny.
Stuart Bradley, Troy, TrojanVision News.
And that's what happened this week. To find out what's happening throughout the week, you can tune into Troy TrojanVision News at 5, 6:30, and 10:30 Monday through Friday or anytime by following us on Twitter at Troy TV News. Also, feel free to like our Troy TrojanVision News fan page on Facebook to see links to online content from Troy TrojanVision News. This is our last weekly of the spring. We'll be back in June. We hope you see us then. Until then, have a good week.